Hi, welcome to another FIKA session with a very special guest for me personally and for NASPA as well. Today we are hosting Dr. Kerrie, Montgomery, Orozco, and Mr. Russell Martin, and they are the incoming chairs, co-chairs for the IEKC, and I will leave them to introduce themselves first before we start our conversation. Hello, Kerrie. Hello, Russell. Who would like to start?
I I
Go
guess I guess
ahead.
I'll start. I guess I'll start. Hi everybody. Dr. Kerrie Montgomery Orozco. I am a longtime member of NASPA. I'm currently between on-campus roles, but am an adjunct faculty member with the University of Florida's online Masters in Student Personnel and Higher Education, otherwise known as Student Affairs. Um, I have served in roles as a director of campus activities, and I've been started my career in study abroad and international exchange, and am looking to get back into that field on campus, but have been involved with all the international things at NASPA for many years now. So I'm very excited to be co-chairing the IEKC with Russell for the next couple of years.
And thank you very much, Wadad, for having us. It's great to be able to just hang out with two of my favorite people. So thank you very much for having us. My name is Russell. I work at Franklin University, Switzerland, which is a tiny little school in the southern Italian-speaking part of Switzerland. We're accredited in both the United States and Switzerland, and we have a very international population. I've been working at Franklin for the last, actually in a couple weeks, it'll be 11 years. And before that, I worked for Northeastern's NUN program in Thessaloniki, Greece for a semester. And before that, at University of Arizona in a few different functional areas in Ithaca College in upstate New York. I also had the opportunity to, while I was in graduate school, um, I interned with Qatar Foundation and fell in love with Doha and Qatar. And so I actually am here in Switzerland because I was on my way to Qatar and ended up being diverted. And so that's kind of how I found my way. It's a long story for another time, but
Yes.
that's how I found myself here.
It's my bad luck, Russell, that you are not in Doha with me, but I can live with that. And I will move to ask you more about what brought you to the IEKC and what is IEKC for you.
Kerrie, would you like to start?
Oh, sure. Um, so I started my career in international education, and then I moved as a trailing spouse. I moved out of state. I'm located in South Florida. Um, and I moved out of state, and the job that I could get was in campus activities. And so I kind of lost my international, direct international connection. But I always made sure that I stayed connected within my roles. So, like I partnered with our study abroad office on campus. I found my ways to stay connected. And I moved away from NAFSA into NASPA at that time, so in the early 2000s. And I found out about the IEKC there. So
Hmm.
I kind of was a lurker in IEKC, like national level at that point. And after a few years, change of situation, I moved back to Florida. And there was actually, I wanted to get more involved at the state level. And there was an opening for the IEKC coordinator for the state.
Mm.
And I said, okay, let me see if I can do this. So that was how I kind of first got my foot into the door generally. And then that turned into attending the international symposium and then becoming more active with the global divisions work. And through all of those things, connecting more in a leadership role with the IEKC. So I was the Region 3 representative for the past couple of years, along with being co-chair elect over the last year. Um, but yeah, that's how I got into it. And, it's all about finding your home within your home in NASPA. Russell?
Yeah, for me, that's a good way to put it, Kerrie. I found my NASPA home actually through the IAKC. When I first started working at Franklin, I had learned about the IIKC through a few colleagues, but really I hadn't been involved with NASPA much before that. And so for many people, I think that getting started with the IIKC is a way to start meeting other people internationally and in the NASPA sphere.
Mhm.
Um, and uh, and so I was involved with the IAKC, just marginally, and starting to meet people that way. And then Franklin actually hosted the first AUCA NASPA collaborative conference, and that's where I met a few people like Janelle and Gianluca and Mirella and a few other people, and. Uh, and then I was really excited about NASPA and about getting involved. And then I had the opportunity to go to the next year's conference in Rome, and that's where I met Kerrie. And Kerrie was the International Symposium chair at the time. And
Mhm.
I was just so impressed with Kerrie and how she spoke.
Mhm.
And if you haven't ever heard Kerrie speak,
Oh God.
she has a very um, she's a brilliant speaker, and I was just so excited about the opportunity to work with the International Symposium that I joined the committee. And I hadn't actually ever been to the symposium in person. I
Yeah.
took part when it was online during COVID, and that was kind of my introduction to the symposium. But then, volunteering for the committee was really how I got involved at a deeper level. And so uh, I ended up becoming the chair of the International Symposium after Kerrie. And here we are now. So I'm pretty excited to be involved and to be working with Kerrie. I've been involved with the IAKC in different ways at different points. My role at Franklin has evolved so much, and at
Hmm.
times I've had to step back, and now I'm able to jump in and take part again.
Yeah, I identify with what Russell is saying. Kerry was really a motivator for me in
Aw.
many things for the symposium and the IEKC, definitely. Now, I would like to know more as incoming chairs or the co-chairs now
Hmm.
currently, and since the NASPA conference ended, and now officially you will be carrying this flag. What are your future plans for the IEKC?
Well, we talked obviously when we were kind of putting together our platform, when we were doing the election process, and we talked about some of the things that we felt like we as professionals would like to see the IEKC doing. And there are some great initiatives that are ongoing. And so I know that you will have been talking to the most recent co-chairs who've just wrapped up their terms. So I won't get too much into that because hopefully folks will have heard those things. Um, so we plan to continue the things that have already been happening and been working well. But one of the big things that we talked about is serving as a sort of hub and clearinghouse for information, for connection, because I think I won't speak for you all, but I think what we've kind of collectively seen is that there's a bit of confusion about what the different international focused entities of NASPA do. So the global division is one thing, the international symposium is one thing, the international education knowledge community is one thing. And, I'm really excited to be working with Pilar Murguia, who is now the global division director. So she sits on the NASPA board. And also Christopher Van Velzer, who's going to be the international symposium chair. And what we've talked about is having some real synergies
Yeah.
between the groups. And so I think that's a big thing for the next couple of years is trying to define what we do, but also break down the silos.
Yes.
So, I think it's like we've been trying to kind of compartmentalize the things to try and clarify for people what the different entities do. And I think that we need to try and do that, but with some real permeable walls so
Yeah.
that there's a flow of information and ideas across the three different areas, um, and really kind of pulling together resources. and helping people to make those connections and also find information that they're looking for. Russell, what else do you want to add?
Yeah. I think that, especially as the global division becomes more firmly and clearly established, I think
Mm-hmm.
that there are some opportunities for the IAKC uh, to collaborate in some ways, but then also take some of the things that the global division has been building over time and incorporate them into some of the things that we're doing as a knowledge community.
Yeah.
So I think that there's really a lot of opportunity right now to rethink some of the things that we've been doing and expand in some ways, but then also just continue some of the work that our predecessors, Jamie and Vicky, have been doing. I think too, one of the things that came up as we've been talking about next steps, even outside of NASPA, there are a lot of different organizations and opportunities and ways to get involved. And so, we'd also like to make some connections there. Whether it's figuring out how we as different associations can collaborate, or even just helping people find something that's a better fit for them. We realize that sometimes, whether it's a functional area or someone's specific job or where they are in the world, there might be a fit that helps them get connected in the way that they need to be. So we want to make sure that everything that we're doing is meaningful, even if it means that it's helping other people find things outside of the IAKC. So
Yeah.
Kerrie had touched on the clearinghouse element, and for me as someone who when I first started working in the international arena, it was difficult to sift through all of the information and the different resources and the different,
Yeah.
you would go to this place for this kind of information or work to this place for this, and it was difficult to figure out, as Kerrie was saying, who did what and what was uh, where those boundaries are. And so what we're hoping to do is also be a source of information and essentially be, since for so many people, the IAKC is their first stop, we
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to help direct people to where they need to go and where they can get information.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I'm
I,
looking. Please.
I'm sorry, I just was going to add to that. Yeah, and I think definitely outside of NASPA, but also within NASPA, because I think, and Russell's situated outside of the U.S., so I think that's why we decided this was a really good partnership as co-chairs, because Russell brings that outside of the U.S. perspective of like,
Yes.
what are people looking for? What are professionals outside the U.S. looking for? I'm situated within the U.S., so what are U.S. practitioners looking for? But I also think about what are international practitioners looking for. What I don't want to forget is that there are so many what are there, 37 or 40 knowledge communities. And
Yes.
so I think there's a really great opportunity for us to do some intentional partnerships across
Yes.
those knowledge communities so that people are also knowing where to go within NASPA to
Yes.
find those other connections. So I
Yes.
think
Yes.
that's
I
going to
agree.
be an important thing
Andre.
for us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to be working with you, not only as a volunteer, also as a director of MENASA. So this is important partnership would be occurring. I'm sure of that.
For
And
sure.
my last question, since our FIKA is a short conversation, we would like to tell people why it is important to, or it is you encourage them to join the IEKC. What would be the value? What would be the benefit of being with us in IEKC other than knowing us definitely? Yani, what would be, especially at the professional perspective?
Russell, you start.
Sure. Well, I think that whether you are in the United States or at a institution in the US, or you're um, anywhere else in the world, I think that it's really nice to be able to come together and meet people who have similar interests, and really value the international education uh, field, not just for students, but also for practitioners. I think that the world is getting more and more complicated, and we
Mm,
really need for our students to um, be able to instinctively try to learn and understand and find solutions that are sustainable and just. And I think that starts with us. And so I think that being able to come together with like-minded people and learning from one another is really what brings me back to the IEKC time and time again.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think, what I keep being reminded of over and over is that the information is important. The resources that we find are important, but the connections that we make are what really drives us and our learning, and not just, reading a thing, but having the opportunity to discuss it with each other and to talk about how things work in different global contexts or how they don't work in different global contexts. And it really opens your mind, I think, as a professional to think about, something that we consider a best practice in the US and then try to share with others may not be even a promising practice in another part of the world. And so I think being part of the international education community within NASPA and getting involved with the IEKC really helps you start to think that way and make those connections. And I think that's really important for our US constituents because we understand there's a lot of policy stuff and that's sort of top of mind for everybody, which rightly so. But I think that the opportunity to have those connections and to talk about what that means to individuals and really humanizing the work is so important. And it's such a great opportunity that we have with the IEKC. And I think the other piece of that is, be involved with the IEKC, take advantage of the resources, come to whatever the programs are, connect with, watch the FIKAs, do all the things, follow us on LinkedIn. But but then as leadership opportunities are available, start to get involved with those because, as I said, I was a lurker back in the day. I didn't really engage. I just kind of came for what I needed or what I thought I needed. But it wasn't until I went to the International Symposium and then I thought, I have some ideas of how this might have improved my experience. And I applied to be on the committee. And then I started to meet people and I started to hear things and so that's how the network really grows. You can only get so much just by being in the club. You have to be part of the leadership team because you're bringing something to the table and you're learning from everybody around you and making those connections. And I think that's how we really do this work.
Yes. Great piece of advice, I think, and really, I'm looking forward to work with you, learn with you, and learn from you as well, because I think there is synergy in the group of IEKC.
For
Also,
sure.
I would say it's going to be also very, very entertaining to work with such a
We
diversified
always have a
group.
good time.
Yeah, exactly.
They're my
Thank
favorite meetings of the week, always.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for your time. It was great to talk to you after a very, what we say, stressful period of time in our region and everywhere. I hope things will come to peace, and then we will start the new phase of the IEKC with the peace and love. Thank you so much. Looking forward to see you again, and have a good day.
thanks
Thank you.
thanks for
Thank you
having
for having
us.
Thank you.